Yeah, so let's take a look at these pedals. I have installed them right here. And they are very, very cool. I mean, they work really well. They feel completely different than the driving force pedals. But we have a little bit of an issue. So when you add 15 pounds, I don't know, maybe they're like 12 pounds, way out here in the front of the rig, she acts like a pig now. I mean, it needs to be rebalanced. So what I'm gonna do, I've got these bolts here. I'm gonna take these bolts out. I'm gonna take the seat, this whole upper frame. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna find the balance point again and reassemble it. And that way, these awesome pedals will feel completely natural. Right now, it doesn't. It's just sluggish. It doesn't feel right. And I know it's because, I mean, I'm adding a whole lot of weight to the front. All right, so I got a lot of work to do. Those 4 bolts, and disconnect these two upper, the control rods, and then some wires. Then I'll go ahead and balance it and get this job done. Surprisingly, I found the balance point. I had to disconnect it from the middle frame. I have a conduit here, it's round. And I think I'm right on the balance point. So all I've got to do right now, so I've got all the weight in the front, still have the monitor. I've tested this a couple different times, so I know that this is basically where the rig is quite balanced, especially if I lean back. And this would be ideal for the motors, so they won't have so much strain. Basically, I'm moving it forward about 2 inches, something like that. Let's get that done. All right, so got it welded in, and she looks okay. Should be strong enough, and I'll go ahead and weld the bottom. Once I'm done with the frame and putting everything on, I still have to paint this thing, so still have to take it apart one more time. So let's put the seat back on. All right, so we're gonna put this heavy seat back on. Yeah, next time I build one of these, I think I'm gonna get a light seat. All right, so far pretty successful. Basically had to rebalance the whole thing. So it looks like it's gonna work pretty good. I still got a bunch of wiring and stuff to hook back up. So once I get back, we'll take it. Okay, so even though I did rebalance it, I did give it a test, and it needed a few other things. Namely, it still seemed to be a bit sluggish. So what I went ahead and did was I took all the weight off of it on the front that I could by mounting these butt kickers, the front butt kickers right here, and I moved the rear one over there. So I had to make little mounts for that. Also, just went ahead and put the monitor on a different stand, so it's not even attached to the rig. And I still had a little bit of an issue with the power. So what I went ahead and did was I moved the access hole about, I think, 3/4 of an inch a little bit lower on the motors, so that you know, they had more power. Now it's getting there. The seat still weighs it's like 35 pounds, and I may think about getting a different seat, but for right now, she's back and moving. The pedals, although they are pretty heavy, I mean, I could still do a little bit of weight reduction, because I don't really need this big heavy base here. I could just run the frame to go right up underneath here, and that way I could eliminate, maybe 4 or 5 pounds. Right now, the actual frame is not hooked to the monitor anymore, but I only needed that because so it's independent. So, but I only needed the monitor to be hooked here because I did not have the VR. But I still need to adjust the pedals. Everything seems to be very solid. Like I said, on these butt kickers, I just went ahead and mounted both of them in the back. Don't particularly like having them both in the back, but they do seem to, I mean, there's a lot more weight. These things do weigh, I don't know, 3 pounds maybe, 2.5 pounds each. But I may try to put one back up in front. Now, what I was talking about with this is I went ahead and drilled another pivot hole here, and this would just basically give the motors a lot more power, because they have a much greater mechanical advantage. The further out you go, like if I had them way out here, the motor, these are crab pot motors, they is not going to have the same mechanical advantage as if you move it closer and closer. If it was right down here, like some of the motors that I see, they'd be very strong, but they don't have as much throw. So this is basically a pretty good compromise. So let's get in this thing and take it for a roll. All right, so now you're gonna be able to see the platform with the screen stationary. The platform is just gonna be moving around a little bit. Take a look at the arms off the motors, and you'll be able to see how it's moving the chair. And it's feeling a lot better than it did, which it was pretty dead. Like, it turned it into like a 1974 Smogger Plymouth. So I take this little car around and give it a shot at this Nürburgring track. Now, like I said, when you're racing with the Rift, you don't see any of this stuff. The senses of motion are much more pronounced than if you're on a single screen. It would be really hard for me to go back to, get off of virtual reality. It just would. I'm not really sure why, but other than you're missing out on so much stuff with just a single screen. But I mean, it would be pretty fun to just use it like this. If I had a little bit faster car with like the Cobra, something like that, that would be pretty darn cool. But we're just using this one, so maybe I'll get a few laps in today, maybe post a video, hopefully. There's a little bit of editing to do on this one, but let's see if we can get around this corner. And just the way everything looks, I can't see it as well on the single. When you're in the rift, I mean, everything is right there. You can, not that I'm real good at hitting apex, but definitely can hit it better with the rift, just because I can see it. We're trying to get a semi-decent lap time. It's probably not going to be possible because I'm not a real good driver, but you know, hey, for an hour or two on Saturday, I don't mind this a bit. Missed that apex, of course, but in VR, oh, yeah, definitely cool. Alright, well, this is Dave, and I'm going to do a few more laps, maybe set up a small race. Yeah, this is definitely not as powerful as like the Cobra, and this is a sequential, so it's not really letting me use the clutch, but I get a feel for the brake pedal, and you know, I can adjust that. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a few setting changes, and you know, look at this, is awesome. Make a few setting changes, get a few practice laps in, and then maybe do a little race, see what happens with this car. I gotta figure out where the brakes, what they do. Plus you can adjust the brake balance and stuff, like you know, on the fly. We're getting a little bit better. Still slow as crap. 211. Yeah, pretty bad. But all right, guys, see you later.